I see a couple of answers. Welcome. Okay, I see high school, middle school. Anyone from elementary or one math? Fantastic. Thank you for your responses. I can see that we have a diverse group of folks today. So let's go to the next page. This is the agenda. This session is composed of two parts. So the first part, we're going to talk about National Board Certification, the pre-candidacy virtual courses that we have available, support. I will answer your questions in that part of the session. And then the second part of the session, we're going to go into the activities in our pre-candidacy virtual course, the assignments, and the rubric. This is what you will need to participate in the course this evening. Your annotation tool. You will need either your sticky notes, your pens, if you like to take notes with sticky notes. And if you like to take virtual notes, you can have your iPad or your laptop. It's your choice. Also, you will need the what teachers should know and be able to do. It is a booklet, so I will share that with you in the chat back in a moment. Some people have a difficult time accessing the document in the chat box. So if you have an issue with that, you can also go to our Google Classroom, and the code is on the screen at the moment. And I will share that in the chat box as well. So give me a second to do that. Okay, the classroom code is in the chat box now, and I will also share the document for those of you that find it easier to download it and save it on your computer. So 1 second. Okay. I have shared the document, so if you click on it, you should be able to download it now. And we will be referring back to that book later in the presentation. Okay, if you have any questions or issues accessing the document, please post that in the chat box. Thank you. Okay, so how do you access your annotation tool? If you're not familiar with it, you should be able to access it if you hover your mouse at the top of your screen. Oh, I see. Someone, if you are on your phone, that may be a little bit difficult, but do not worry. We can email that to you as well. Oh, okay, I see. If you cannot join the Google Classroom, if you're at school and you're not able to access it, I did share it, the document in the chat box. So all you need to do is click on it and download it, and you should be able to have access to it. Okay, so let's try our annotation tool. Let's practice. Use the text tool to label each emotion, or use the star and stamp tool to mark the emoticon that best represents your feelings right now. And I will give you about a minute or two so you can access your tool if you're able to. And if you're not able to access the tool, you can type your answer in the chat box. No? Thank you for sharing. I'm glad to see that you're excited. Wonderful. Someone needs, this is what should be in the chat box, this document right here. I see that someone needs access to it. So let me stop the presentation so that I can share the document with you again. Okay, here's the document in the chat box. You should be able to access it if you click on it. And you can also save it on in your computer. Okay, thank you so much for engaging. Let me clear the drawings and let's go to the next slide. Okay, National Board Certification. Please read the statements on your screen and use your annotation tool to stamp the statement that best describes you. And if you see the highlighter on a slide, that means that that slide, you can interact with that slide by using your annotation tool. So I'll wait a moment so that you can read the statements and do a stamp, the one that best describes you. Again, if you cannot access your annotation tool, you may type your answer in the chat box. You can say 1, 2, or 3. And remember, there are no right or wrong answers. We just want to get a feel of who's in the room and where you are in the process. Okay, wonderful. So it seems like you are in the right place because we're going to talk about information on the process, what it means to be a National Board Certified Teacher, and we will discuss many of the details of the program that we are offering. So thank you so much for participating. Let me clear the screen. Wonderful. Thank you. So what is National Board Certification? Obtaining a National Board Certification helps teachers to hone their skills. It is the road to accomplished teaching. It is similar to when doctors become specialists, they are no longer general doctors or family doctors, they become pediatricians or dermatologists. The same concept applies to teaching. If you do become a National Board certified teacher, you are a specialist in your field. Here we have the professional career continuum for teaching. In order for you to start the process of becoming a National Board Certified Teacher, you need to have at least 3 years of experience in the classroom. So you need to be a professional teacher at this point in order to start the process. These are the 5 core propositions, and you can find more of the details about these in the book that I share with you, the electronic book that I shared in the chat box on what teachers know and should be able to do. And the 5 core propositions describe what accomplished teachers do to help students learn. This is the architecture of accomplished teaching. And what I want to highlight here is that you see 2 strands. One strand is what the teacher does, and the other strand is what the students do. In other words, teaching is always connected to what the students are learning. And the 5 core propositions guide teachers into planning and making those decisions in the classroom that will help with student achievement. So now we're going to talk about the Texas AFT National Board Pre-Candidacy Program. This fall, we have offered 2 sessions. Some people attended the session on September 8th, and this is our second kickoff session. And this session helps you and will guide you through the process of completing the pre-candidacy course and providing you with information on how to start the National Board Certification journey. We have two courses, but one is the one that we're going to be talking in depth today. The second one is more like a resource course that will help you once you begin the National Board Certification process. In other words, if you do start working on components, National Board components in the spring, this course will be a resource that can help you and guide you through that process. The National Board Pre-Candidacy courses are virtual. Like I said, this session is to guide you, and then you will sign up for the Canvas course. It's a Canvas course. You will receive an invitation, and once you're in the course, you will see the sections of the course. So there are 7 sessions in the Intro to National Board Certification, which is the one that we will be talking about later today. And then, like I said, the second one is more of a resource course. Once you begin the process, it is there to help you. Why pursue this certification? This certification is not a requirement from the state of Texas, but there are some advantages to obtaining a National Board Certification. One of the reasons why you should consider it is because, according to research, students that are taught by National Board certified teachers learn more. There's more achievement. Studies have also found that minority groups and students in low-income categories also benefit more when they have a National Board certified teacher. I found this interesting because I am a former bilingual teacher and I always work in Title I schools. So that is something that calls my attention. National Board Certification validates teachers' knowledge. Like I mentioned earlier, you become a specialist, and that means that you will know how to address the individual needs of the students in your classroom. Schools that have National Board certified teachers are characterized by better teacher morale, and retention is also increased when a school has more National Board certified teachers. And now we're going to delve into the research. So what we're going to do for about 3 to 5 minutes is that I will share the link in the chat box. And once I share it, you will be able to click the link and go to the National Board certification website and explore the research. So if you give me 1 minute, I will share that link with you. The link is now in the chat box. It should take you to the website. And again, I will give you about 2 to 3 minutes to go through some of the reports that are found on the website. I do not expect you to read them all, of course. There are a few research studies and reports. You may choose the one that calls your attention. And if you just joined us, welcome. Right now, we are exploring the research on National Board teacher certifications. I shared a link in the chat box. Please click on the link and review some of the studies that are available there. If you have any questions, you may unmute yourself and ask, or you may also type it into the chat box. And when you are ready, access your annotation tool and please tell us what interests you. What do you want to learn more about? And again, if you cannot access your annotation tool, the chat box, you can provide your answer in the chat box. Okay, requirements timeline, we're definitely going to look at those. Testing. Okay, I do not see any responses in the chat box, so let me clear the drawings and let's go to the next slide. Thank you so much for your responses. So now national board certifications in Texas. Texas just recently recognized national board teacher certifications. In the past, they were not recognized, but now if you have a national board certification, you get a recognized distinction on your teacher certifications. As you can see here, you're automatically a recognized teacher if you become a national board certified teacher. It is also valid for 5 years, and there is a renewal process of your certification as well. Now, Texas recognizes the national board certifications and also compensates teachers for being national board certified. There are different designations and allotments, and you can find this information. As you can see here, I did get this information from the TEA website. There is a formula that is used to calculate how much money is allocated or given to each school when they have national board certified teachers. If you want to learn more about that, please visit the TEA website and go to the teacher incentive allotment page, and it will provide you with that information. So as I said, you get an automatic recognized designation if you become national board certification. Good news is that districts are reimbursing teachers for obtaining a national board certification. For example, the district that I work for, mainly here in the Houston area, does provide teachers with a full refund after they complete their national board certification process. Districts have different ways of doing this. So if you want to get more information on this, it's a good idea to email probably HR or ask your principal to know what incentives your district is offering. But as of now, TEA does refund the districts for refunding you. So it is a good opportunity. This is an example of what the district that I work for is doing. Districts are doing different things, so it may be worded differently if there are incentives in other districts. So I just wanted to share with you the example of what my district shares with teachers. How much does it cost? The registration fee is non-refundable. That means that TEA does not refund teachers or districts when they pay their $75 registration fee. This is an annual fee and it is not refundable. So if you register and later decide that you no longer want to pursue the national board certification process, that fee is not going to be refunded. Each certification is composed of 4 components, and each one costs $475. You don't have to do those in order, and we're going to talk about that as well in a minute. Now, something that is new this year is that National Board also allows teachers to make payments. So if you take one component, you don't have to pay the $475 at once. You can make payments throughout the semester. So that is something that's very helpful to some teachers. To be eligible, you need to have a bachelor's degree. As you can see here, a valid state teaching license and 3 years of classroom experience. If you are in a situation where you're not the classroom teacher and you don't have your own classroom, you can still pursue the certification by borrowing someone's classroom. For example, some principals that are working on the certification can pursue the certification by borrowing a teacher's classroom. So if you're in that situation, you can definitely participate as well. These are the certification areas. As you can see, there are a few of those. I will share the link to the Candidate Center. In that web page will give you all the information about each certification and components and all that. So I'll be sharing with you. I'll be sharing that with you shortly. This is the timeline. In the past, National Board certifications, teachers that were completing their certification only had 1 year to complete it, to complete all 4 modules. So when I talk to teachers that went through that process, they always tell me that it was extremely challenging. These days, they have changed the timeline. So teachers have 1 to 5 years to complete. Some teachers are still completing the certification in 1 year. Most teachers complete it in 3 years, but life happens. If you need more time, you can get up to 5 years to complete the certification. These are some important dates. If you do decide to start the process of becoming a National Board Certified Teacher, you have to register by February 28, 2022. So hopefully you will have an opportunity to take this Canvas course and make the decision of whether or not you want to pursue the certification starting next semester. And before we go to the next section of the course, I will stop for a moment here to see if there are any questions on the process of the National Board Certification. Are there any questions at this time? You may unmute yourself. We are a small group. Okay, I do not see any questions in the chat box either, so we will continue. So what are we offering? We are offering a course. It's a Canvas course, and it is called Introduction to National Board. When you start the course, you're going to learn about the 5 propositions, the book that I share with you, what teachers should know and be able to do. You will learn about the certification process, the components, the standards, the double helix. You're going to go in depth about that, types of writing, and next steps. So in other words, if you complete the online pre-candidacy course, you're going to be more prepared and know what to expect throughout the process. The course does include some reflections. So at the end of each section, for example, what teachers should know and be able to do, at the end of that section, there are a couple of reflection questions. Part of the course includes completing those reflections, submitting them in the Canvas course, And we use a rubric to look at your reflections and score those. Do not be intimidated by that. I will be sharing the rubric with you once we share the link to register as well. The whole point of the course is to give you a taste of what it means to be going through the National Board Certification process. National Board Certification is the gold standard in teaching. That means that it is very rigorous. People have to plan with, being very, very purposeful in their work because there are many requirements once you start the process. And this course is designed to help you be more prepared. This is what the rubric will look like. When you are writing your reflections, we suggest that you refer back to the rubric so that you know what we will be looking for when we review it. And as you see, it's not like you're going to get a score or pass or fail or anything like that. It's more about trying to help you look at what you submitted and doing some reflection and rewriting if necessary. That is a process that goes through the components when you're actually completing the National Board Certification. Okay, so part of what we're going to do today is we're going to work on doing an activity that will be similar to what you will be doing on your own when you're taking the pre-candidacy course. So the first, the activity that we're doing today is the book study, and we're going to focus on core proposition 1. And you can find this in the book that I share with you, what teachers should know and be able to do. If you need for me to share that, the book again in the chat box, please let me know. So at this time, you may open the book. And part of what you will be doing throughout the process or National Board Certification process is reflecting over what you do. And what I mean by that is if you teach a lesson, after the lesson, engaging in deep reflection, thinking about what happened during the lesson, what worked, what did not work, and if it did not work, why didn't it? Or if it did work, why did it work? This is the type of reflection that you will be engaging in through the pre-candidacy course and also as you move forward with the process. So core proposition 1, teachers are committed to students in their learning. And what we will do for the next 10 minutes is we're going to go through pages 12 to 16. And this is the time when you can get your sticky notes or your iPad if you take electronic notes. And you're going to focus on pages 12 through 16. I was going to set up the timer, but before I do that, I want to share some questions to guide your thinking. So let me show you that slide before I set the timer. So as you read those pages, these are the questions that will guide your thinking. And I will share those in the chat box in a moment. You may begin, and I will check back with you. It is 6:34, so I will check back with you at 6:44. I'm about to share the book in the chat box, so give me one moment. And it is there now.
Dr. Morales?
Oh,
I had a question.
yes.
I did not receive the book link in my chat. I've been looking for the link and there is no link to the book in there.
Okay, let me share it with you once again. Does anyone else need the link or the booklet? It is there now. Can you see it? Wonderful.
No, mine just
No?
out. Let me
If you type your email in the chat box, I can send it to you via email. I also have it available in a Google course. Let me share that information with you. Maybe you can access it with that link. We have about 3 minutes and it's okay. Let me share it with you and we will do what you can. And we will answer questions as well. Okay, so I share the Google Classroom code in the chat box, and then I can send you the document via email. Okay, let's come back together. So at this time, let's talk about the experience of engaging in reading and reflecting. Again, these were the questions that were supposed to guide your thinking. Is there someone that wants to discuss? What did you think? What did you think about what you read? You can also type responses into the chat box. Any thoughts or comments on the activity? Carla, did you have a comment?
I did, but I
Okay.
think I'm gonna kind of keep it to my keep it to myself.
You don't want to share?
Yeah, well, you know what? I don't know. I may just be in my feelings this school year, and I agree with a lot of what was said in there, but it just seems like sometimes when you are that teacher who connects with your students and you are able to grow, help students grow academically, and you have good relationships with all of your students, and you take all of that into account, it seems like you just get every kid that doesn't really perform well in another class ends up in your classroom, and then you have to start all over again. And what I used to do was just like train my students. Listen, we're going to get a new student. That doesn't change our culture, and everything ahead of time. Try to kind of front load them. But I mean, yeah, those were my thoughts.
Well, Carla, thank you so much for being brave and sharing that. I can totally relate. I think that when you are that proficient teacher, sometimes things like that happen. So I totally understand how you feel. But thank you so much. I know that it is difficult to offer a safe space because, I never know what can trigger anyone, right? But I'm hoping that you feel that this is a brave space, a place where you can speak up, tell us what you're thinking. It is safe. We're going to listen and we're going to be respectful. And that is exactly what we're here for, right? To learn from each other. We hardly ever get a chance to talk to other professionals during the day. So this is the space to do it. So I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing that. There are a couple of things in the chat box. Okay. I'm glad that some of you felt that it was eye-opening. And I totally understand the challenges of the situations going on every campus these days. The shortage of teachers is real everywhere. I talk to teachers from different school districts, and it is definitely an issue. I understand. Some of you said that you have a lot of students. I totally understand it's challenging. Okay. Yes, I know that 10 minutes is not long enough to actually go in depth with the reading. But what I was hoping was that you could see that a lot of the things that the book mentions are things that you're already doing. So it will not be something completely different. It will be, if you engage in the National Board Certification process, a lot of the things that you're already doing, you can use and submit as work as well. Okay, relationships, yes, totally agree with your comments. Anybody else before we move on to the last part of this, of tonight's session? Does anyone else have any other comments or questions at this time? Okay. So again, these were the questions that were supposed to guide your thinking. And this activity is similar to what you're going to be doing when you go through the course, except you're not going to have, at that moment, the group that will discuss it with you, or you're not going to be able to share your ideas with a group. But we have also set up support meetings so that hopefully if you want to attend those, we can engage in those discussions. Okay, so the last part, we're going to go over information and resources. We're almost at the end of tonight's session. This link right here is the link to the Candidate Center. I will make sure that you get that. By visiting this webpage, you can get the answer to most of your questions. It has information on all the requirements, components, certifications, all those things. Very, very useful information here. I will also, in the Google Classroom, I also shared a form, and I will share that with you in the chat box in a minute, that helps you think about your own timeline. As I mentioned, now teachers can get up to 5 years to achieve and complete all 4 components. Many of the teachers that I talk to always tell me, I want to get it done in a year. Can I just do it in a year? The answer is yes. You can do that if that's what you want to do and you think you have that time in your life right now to do so. There's nothing, stopping you. You can definitely do that. So I'll share this form that will help you start thinking about your own timeline. We're all different. We all have different commitments. So everybody has to decide depending on those. And then important information. If you're interested in taking the Canvas course or the pre-candidacy course, we will be sharing a link with you so that you can sign up. We're also going to send a follow-up email so that if you don't decide to do it today and you decide to do it later, you can do so as well. We will have support sessions throughout the spring semester, which will be via Zoom like this, where we can come together and you can ask questions or have discussions. And with that, let me stop the presentation and open it up for questions. And while you're thinking, I'll share that form with you. And that form helps you to think about how fast or, how long you want to take completing the certification. Also, if you did get the Google Classroom code, that form is there as well. Okay, so it is 6:52. We have some time for questions. You may unmute yourself and ask.
Can you briefly explain what's involved in those components? Like what tasks do we have to accomplish?
Okay, so wonderful question. Let me tell you that I am not a national board certified teacher. My experience and the reason why I can facilitate these meetings is because I attended the PLF training, so professional learning training, and that is why I can do this session. I also completed the pre-candidacy course with the Arizona K-12 Center. So that's the bulk of my experience. So I haven't gone through a component, but what I have talked to other teachers about and read on the National Board website is that you will be, each component has different goals. Like for example, one component, the goal would be to test your content knowledge. Another component will be about how you teach and how does your teaching affect student learning. And you have to submit writing pieces to talk about your lesson and your reflection on your lesson. So once you start going through the Canvas course, which is a great question, it goes into more detail as to what to expect as you complete each component. But each certification has 4 components.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? And while you're thinking, let me look for the link, the registration link, so that you can save it. And remember, we'll also send a follow-up email in case you decide to join the virtual course later. So while you're thinking, I'll be looking for the link. Any other questions or comments?
Do teachers get paid for doing this national board certification?
No, teachers do not get paid for going through the process. Teachers get a stipends or compensation once they become national board certified. Here in the Houston area, there are only, Houston is like the biggest district in Texas. However, there are only 2 national board certified teachers in the whole district, and they are both HFT members, so we're very proud. So they told me that this year, or the spring semester of this year, so spring 2021, is the first time where they have received compensation from TEA for having a national board certification. They didn't tell me how much. Remember, I told you that that they use a formula to calculate the amount of stipends that go to schools, and then the school has to give, I believe, 90% of that money to the teachers. So they did not tell me how much they received, but they were very happy about it. So I'm assuming it was a good stipend. But you do not get paid to go through the process. It is voluntary. In other words, the state of Texas doesn't require this certification. This is a certification you choose to pursue. So you choose to become a specialist in your field.
Thank you.
Sure. Keep in mind that what you can get support for, there is financial support for paying for the certifications. Many teachers in other states have to pay out of their pockets. Districts do not compensate or help them pay for the components, but here in Texas, TEA does refund school districts. So most districts will have either a form or a process where you can get refunded for those. It's almost like $2,000 to complete a certification. So once you complete it, you can get that refund. So that is really good compared to other states where there is no financial help. Any other questions?
Hey, Claudia, this is Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
So if you will just shoot me an email with all the information with the links that you shared this morning in the morning, I will email all of the participants with all of that information.
Will do.
And thank you so much for facilitating for us this evening.
Of course. We are at 6:57. We have time for one more question if you have it. So does anyone else have another question or comment before we close for tonight? Okay, if there are no other questions or comments, we thank you for being here tonight. If you have any questions, feel free to send those to Jamie, or you can reach out to me if you like. I'm typing my contact information into the chat box, and I will send Jamie all the links and the resources so that you can start looking into it and making your decision. Know that you can still pursue a national board certification, even if you do not complete or participate in a pre-candidacy course. But the pre-candidacy course, the purpose of it is designed to help you be more prepared. And according to research, teachers that go through a pre-can course are more successful. Remember, it is a very challenging process, but everyone that I talk to that has it always says it's the best professional development they have ever attended. So again, thank you for being here. And with that, we will close tonight's session. Thank you, everyone. And Jamie, I'll email you tomorrow morning. Have a great evening.